Hi, this is Nancy. Today I wanted to talk about exercise and fibromyalgia. It's been very difficult for me in the close to 25 years that I've had this illness to keep a consistent exercise program. That being said, I do believe that it's very important to exercise when you have an illness like fibromyalgia. You always hear with exercise, and I absolutely believe it, that consistency is the key. But when you have an illness like fibro, where every day can be very different, it's extremely difficult to keep that consistency. So what I do is I try to focus more on just doing something. I try to be as consistent as possible, but it's not always possible with fibro. It just isn't. And I think the big thing with that is to just not beat yourself up for it. Now, I have the best of intentions as far as, let's just say I'm going to walk. I might start with 10 minutes of walking on Monday and then say I'll do 12 on Tuesday, 15 on Wednesday, and so on. Now this is if I'm starting kind of from scratch, obviously, because you want to start out slowly. Well, it may be great Monday and Tuesday, but then Wednesday comes along and say I have a lot of errands to run, or I have to go to the store and get groceries, and that means a 40-minute drive for me just to get there and then get the groceries and come back. By the time I do that, my body is really hurting. So as frustrating as that is, I still believe that the best thing to do is just say, okay, it is what it is, and I'll do the best I can, because that is all really any of us can do. And when you have fibromyalgia, you just plain can't compare yourself to someone who doesn't. I had a viewer ask me how I deal with feeling inadequate around healthy women. This particular person had been somewhere where there were very active women hiking miles, she said, and I think biking, and just extremely active, healthy women. I would say just don't do it. Don't compare yourself to it. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but we just can't, because we're not even on the same level, sadly. And it's tough to do because there's the whole issue of people not understanding and people looking at us and thinking, well, you look fine. Why can't you hike 5 miles or 10 miles or whatever it is? Why can't you do that? I think you're just being a wuss and you're just complaining. But you know what? The longer I've lived with this, the easier it has gotten for me to just not care what other people think. Because the fact is, you can't control that. You're never going to change what somebody thinks inside their own head. That's their problem. That's their business. And as upsetting as that can be, we have to realize that we're living our lives and we're just doing the best we can do. And that's all we can really do, is take care of ourselves. You can only change your reaction to it. And I find that it's just a waste of our precious energy, which we have very little of to begin with, to worry about what other people think or to compare ourselves to people who don't feel the way we do. You've got to just kind of say, okay, well, this is the hand I've been dealt, and I'm going to play it the best I can. And let Susie or Pam or Kelly or whoever it is out there live their own life. At the end of the day, they don't spend more than a couple minutes thinking about you anyway. They just don't. We as human beings are more concerned with ourselves and our own lives than we ever are about anyone else. We may give it a few moments thought, and they may think, well, she's not really sick, or she's just being lazy, but they may think that for about 30 seconds and they're on to something else that's more important to them. I mean, that's just the fact. So letting yourself get upset and feel like you are less than because of that, it's a shame, because really we're just hurting ourselves when we do that. It's just an added stress on us when we're already living with so much pain and stress. So I try to just keep that out of the picture the best that I can and focus on what I can do. From the beginning of when I got this illness, when I was only 20 years old, I have always tried to stay as active as I can. Now that's easier at sometimes than others. It was easier when I was younger too in a lot of ways. Now that I'm in my 40s, things ache more just in general, and then you put fibromyalgia on top of it and it can be tough. But I do always try and focus on 3 parts of physical fitness. Now the first one would be stretching. And I wish I had the upload speed to show you a long stretching video of the stretches that I do, but I don't. Our connection speed here is horrible, and it would take about 42 years to upload a long video. So I can't really do that, but I just do stretches that I've been shown through the years by massage therapists or physical therapists, or things I've seen online, or yoga poses that I've kind of modified. So here's where I show you just a couple of stretches that I really like to do. Forgive all the stuff in the background. We just had new carpet installed and everything's piled up. One of my favorite and most effective stretches for me is I just lie on my back with my knees up, and then I turn both of my knees to one side and then turn my head to the other side and hold that for at least 30 seconds and then switch sides. And that really helps with my hip pain and the pain in my low back, which I have a lot of. Then another one that really helps me is a modification on the child's pose in yoga, where you sit on your heels. Now the child's pose is something like this, but what I do is just sit like this and then shift my weight to one side, and then take that arm on the same side and bring it over across my body and just hold it and kind of just keep shifting your weight down. And that really is a good stretch for the hip and low back, and then also the shoulder. And then I repeat that on the other side also. One more. And this helps the neck and back pain that plagues us. And that is just to put your shoulders down. Make sure you're not up like this, but down, and then just squeeze your shoulder blades together. And just hold a few seconds and repeat that. It's a really good stretch. Maybe 10 times, but always just remember to keep those shoulders down and relaxed when you do it. And then the second part of that would be strengthening. And by strengthening, I mean very light weights, like 1 pound is really about all I can handle, maybe sometimes 2. Now there is one program that I've been trying to follow to the best of my ability here on YouTube. Her channel name is Leslie Sweat. Well, she's a little itty bitty thing and way younger than me and very fit. So I don't try and keep up with her necessarily. I don't see in my mind, okay, I'm gonna look like her. It's not gonna happen. But I do think that she is a good instructor, and what I really love about her workouts is that a lot of them are done in real time. She has a 10-minute beginner workout that I try and do. I mean, in an ideal world, I would be doing it about 3 times a week. That doesn't always happen, but I do it when I can. I've never done the whole thing yet, because even though it's only 10 minutes, it is in no way easy. It's tough. It's not meant for someone with fibromyalgia. My dog's about to bark at something, so I'm just gonna close the door. It's squats and leg raises, and I mean, it hurts. So a lot of times what I do is I just modify it. And by modify, I mean I just stand there half the time when she's doing things, or I only do maybe half the reps, if that. Or I may only start with 4 minutes and then do that for a few days. Sorry about that. He is a barker. And then work up to 5 minutes and do it very slowly. So that's an idea. Just look up strengthening programs, or even just use your own body weight as far as squats and things. You don't always have to use weights. I generally don't. The only time I really use weights is if I'm doing some shoulder and arm exercises, because I have had surgery on both of my shoulders in the last 3 years, and I've tried to get a little bit of strength back into them. So that would be the second part. And then the third thing is aerobic. And for me, that's pretty much just walking. Another thing that's great for people with fibro as far as aerobic exercise and strengthening actually is swimming. If you do have access to a pool, that is a wonderful exercise. So it would be those three parts, and then you just do it when you can do it. And sometimes, yes, you do have to make yourself. There are a lot of days that I just don't want to do it, most days actually, and feel like there is no way I have the strength to do this. But if I get up and I make myself walk, even for 10 minutes, it's a big benefit for me emotionally, just to say, okay, I did something. And when you hurt bad every day and you're exhausted, that's a big deal. So be proud of that, and don't worry about what other people do or what they think, because they're not in your shoes. If you have any questions about specific things that I do, or any stories about your experience with exercising and having fibromyalgia, please put those in the comments, because I would love to hear them. And any ideas you may have too for future videos on practical tips for living with fibromyalgia. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.